There is a sentence that has buried more ambition than poverty ever could. A quiet sentence, a reasonable sentence, a sentence that sounds wise, but poisons the spirit the moment it is accepted. It's too late, not shouted, whispered. It arrives after 50 like an uninvited guest. It settles into conversation. It disguises itself as maturity. It calls itself realism. And if you are not vigilant, you begin to repeat it until it feels like fact. But I ask you, who declared the deadline on your potential? Was there a law written in the sky that said ambition expires at a certain birthday? Was there a decree that invention, wealth, influence, and contribution belong only to the young? Or did you accept a story because it was repeated often enough? Consider the cruelty of this lie. At 50, you possess something you did not have at 30, experience. You have survived errors. You have endured disappointment. You have watched trends rise and fall. You understand patience. You know that temporary defeat is not final. And yet you are told this is the hour to shrink. Imagine a man at 55. He has ideas better than he has ever had. He sees opportunities with clarity, but he says to himself, I should have started earlier. So he postpones. Another year passes, then another. The idea grows cold, not because it lacked merit, but because he lacked decision. That is how the lie operates. It does not destroy your talent. It delays your action until your talent suffocates. You have been conditioned to believe that youth equals advantage. Youth has energy, but energy without discipline wastes itself. After 50, if you choose wisely, you possess discipline refined by time. That is not weakness. That is leverage. Ask yourself honestly, if you committed the next 10 years, 10 focused, organized, definite years to a single burning purpose, what could you build? 10 years is enough to transform income, enough to master a craft, enough to establish influence, enough to create a legacy that outlives you. Yet many surrender those 10 years before they begin. They say, I missed my window. They say, it would have been easier earlier. They say, now I will settle. Settlement is slow decay. The mind does not age because of years. It ages because of resignation. If you repeat daily, it's too late, your subconscious will obey. Your energy will lower. Your ambition will soften. Your actions will shrink. But if you declare, my experience gives me advantage, my best contribution is ahead, I begin now with clarity and strength, the same law begins to operate in your favor. The subconscious does not measure birthdays. It measures belief. Look carefully at the men who rise later in life. They do not deny their age. They use it. They move with calm authority. They are not easily distracted. They know what matters and what does not. They waste less time proving themselves and invest more time building. After 50, you are not starting from nothing. You are starting from knowledge. And knowledge, when paired with definite purpose and persistent action, becomes formidable. The most dangerous lie after 50 is not that your body slows. It is that your possibility shrinks. The moment you accept that, you narrow your own horizon. What if this is the very decade meant to crown your effort? What if the years behind you were preparation? What if the disappointments you endured were instruction? not evidence of defeat. Most men never test that theory. They drift into maintenance. But you are not obligated to drift. Picture yourself 5 years from now. Either you will look back and say, I wish I had begun, or you will say, that was the moment I decided. Ignore this warning, and the lie will grow stronger. Embrace it, and you will defend your limitations. Challenge it, and you will feel something awaken. Not youthful excitement, mature determination, the kind that does not chase applause, the kind that does not panic at setbacks, the kind that builds steadily, intelligently, relentlessly. It's too late is not wisdom. It is surrender disguised as prudence. You still have years. You still have ability. You still have imagination. The only thing required is decision. After 50, the stakes are clearer. The distractions are fewer. The excuses are thinner. You know time is valuable, which is precisely why you must use it deliberately. Your next chapter is not written by age. It is written by aim. And the moment you reject the lie completely, finally, you reclaim authority over the years ahead. It is not too late. It is late enough to understand the cost of waiting. Begin now. The most dangerous lie after 50 does not arrive with noise. It does not announce itself as surrender. It comes dressed as wisdom. It speaks softly and says, it's too late. Repeated often enough, that sentence begins to feel like fact. Yet it is not fact. It is suggestion accepted without examination. A man may reach 50 with decades of experience, knowledge earned through hardship, patience shaped by defeat, and discipline refined by error. Yet if he repeats that quiet sentence long enough, he will shrink his own horizon more effectively than any external enemy could. The tragedy is not aging. The tragedy is agreement with limitation. There exists no universal decree stating that ambition expires at a certain birthday. Nature does not impose such a rule. The mind does. And what the mind accepts repeatedly, the subconscious begins to obey. When a man says, my time has passed, his energy softens, his plans shorten, his risks disappear. Not because capacity vanished, but because belief shifted. The 6 ghosts of fear operate more subtly after 50. Fear of criticism whispers that bold action now would look foolish. Fear of poverty advises preservation over growth. Fear of failure suggests that earlier attempts proved final verdict. Yet experience proves the opposite. After 50, you possess organized knowledge that youth cannot duplicate. You have seen economic cycles, human behavior, personal error, and correction. That knowledge is capital. If unused, it becomes nostalgia. If directed, it becomes leverage. Consider men who rose to prominence after what others called middle age. They did not deny their years. They used them. They moved with calm authority rather than frantic excitement. They wasted less time proving themselves and invested more time building what mattered. The lie that it's too late does not destroy talent outright. It postpones action until enthusiasm cools. It persuades the man at 55 that he should have begun earlier So he delays again, and 5 years pass without experiment. That postponement costs 10 years. Rejecting the lie instantly recovers them. The moment you declare, "My years have strengthened my advantage," something shifts within you. Your posture changes. Your speech becomes firmer. Others sense renewed intention. They begin to treat you not as one retreating, but as one advancing. Self-talk programs outcome. If you repeat decline, decline appears in conduct. If you repeat determination, determination shapes action. The subconscious mind does not count birthdays. It counts repeated thought. Therefore, the first act required after 50 is mental rebellion against expiration. Say with firmness, "My experience is capital. My time remains valuable. My best work can still be built." This single act of refusal can save a decade of quiet maintenance. Most men after 50 drift into repetition, mistaking comfort for wisdom. Comfort without aim produces slow decay. Aim with discipline produces renewed vitality. You must see clearly that the most dangerous lie is not physical limitation, but accepted resignation. Remove resignation, and you restore possibility. Restore possibility, and you reclaim years that would otherwise dissolve unnoticed. The calendar moves regardless, but direction remains yours. The man who rejects expiration at 50 does not grow younger in body, but he grows stronger in intention. Intention directs energy. Energy directs effort. Effort produces evidence. Evidence strengthens belief. This cycle begins the moment the lie is exposed. And exposing it may save not only 10 years, but the most important decade of your life. Once you have rejected the lie of expiration and transformed experience into leverage, you stand at a decisive threshold. Clarity without commitment still produces drift. Knowledge without direction becomes reflection instead of construction. Therefore, the next act must be deliberate and written. After 50, wandering ambition is especially costly. Time feels more visible. The years ahead appear measurable. This awareness should not produce fear. It should produce precision. You must now write a new, definite chief aim for the next decade, not as a youthful experiment, but as a mature campaign. Do not select casually. Choose one dominant objective that justifies the investment of your remaining strength. It may concern wealth, enterprise, authorship, mastery, influence, or contribution. But it must be measurable and fixed with a definite date. Write it in exact language. Within 10 years, I will, followed by clear fact, not emotion. Then state what service you will render in return. There is no advancement without exchange. When this aim is written, read it morning and night. The subconscious mind does not question age. It responds to repetition and belief. If you speak your aim with conviction daily, your mind will begin searching for means of attainment. Attention sharpens. Decisions become quicker. Distractions lose appeal. The written aim prevents the slow drift into maintenance that captures so many after 50. Most men at this stage reduce their ambition because they fear wasted effort. Yet wasted effort comes not from boldness, but from vagueness. Definite direction reduces wasted motion. It concentrates power. Build a small circle of disciplined associates who respect growth. The mastermind principle does not weaken with age, it strengthens. Mature counsel combined with renewed purpose produces clarity difficult to rival. When others hear you speak of a 10-year objective with calm authority, they respond differently. They do not see desperation. They see resolve. Resolve commands respect. Respect invites collaboration. Collaboration accelerates progress. Let this affirmation guide you. My strongest chapter begins now. Repeat it until it feels natural. Many believe their most productive years must occur earlier in life, yet clarity at 55 can outrun confusion at 35. Youth often wastes time discovering direction. You now know what matters. That knowledge reduces trial and error. The next decade must not be left to routine. Divide it into stages. Identify what must occur in the first year, the third, the fifth. Write those markers plainly. Measurement prevents illusion. Illusion wastes years silently. By committing your aim to paper and reading it daily, you eliminate uncertainty. You give your remaining years structure. Structure multiplies output. Output strengthens confidence. Confidence fuels persistence. This single act of written commitment can save 20 wandering years that might otherwise dissolve in cautious repetition. After 50, aim must replace assumption. Assumption says, perhaps. Aim says, I will. The difference between those two words determines whether your next decade becomes maintenance or masterpiece. Write boldly, read faithfully, act consistently, and let the new definite chief aim mark the true beginning of your most deliberate and powerful season. Once your new definite chief aim for the next decade is written and impressed upon your mind through repetition, a different quality of action must follow. After 50, your power does not lie in restless enthusiasm. It lies in mature determination. Youth often advances through speed. Maturity advances through steadiness. And steadiness, sustained long enough, defeats speed that lacks discipline. You are no longer required to chase every opportunity. You are required to select wisely and persist intelligently. This distinction alone can save 10 years of misdirected effort. Mature determination is quiet. It does not announce itself loudly. It organizes its days carefully. It measures progress quarterly instead of emotionally. It guards health not as limitation, but as strategic asset. Your body is instrument. Protect it. Strengthen what can be strengthened. Conserve energy for what matters. Eliminate distractions disguised as opportunity. After 50, distraction is especially costly because time feels more visible. When an invitation arises, ask calmly, does this serve my written aim? If not, decline without apology. Youth often fears missing out. Maturity understands that missing focus is more dangerous than missing novelty. Temporary defeat may appear during this season, as it always does in any constructive campaign. But you have already endured defeat before. You understand that it carries instruction. Treat it as correction, not condemnation. Henry Ford insisted upon producing the V8 engine when experts declared it impossible. His insistence was not impulsive arrogance. It was sustained determination. That is the quality required now. Not frantic action, but unwavering persistence. Let this affirmation anchor you. I build steadily and persist intelligently. Speak it when impatience arises. Others will begin to see the difference in you. They will notice that you are not easily shaken by delay. They will observe that your decisions are deliberate, your tone composed, your efforts consistent. This calm authority commands respect. Respect builds influence. Influence multiplies opportunity. Mature focus compounds faster than youthful excitement because it wastes less motion. Youth experiments broadly. Maturity refines narrowly. Narrow refinement produces precision. Precision accelerates results. If you divide the next decade into disciplined seasons, measuring progress honestly and correcting without drama, you may compress 30 years of scattered drift into 10 years of directed growth. That is not exaggeration. It is mathematics of concentration. Most men after 50 soften their standards. You must raise yours. Raise the quality of your service. Raise the consistency of your effort. Raise the clarity of your thought. When you do, you will discover that age has not weakened your potential. It has sharpened it. Mature determination does not rely on applause. It relies on commitment. And commitment sustained daily transforms possibility into possession. Your remaining years are not a period of decline. They are a season of refinement. Refinement guided by definite aim and persistent action becomes formidable. Build calmly. Build steadily. Build without retreat. And allow your mature determination to accomplish what youthful impulse never could. When a man passes 50 and rejects the lie of expiration, transforms his experience into leverage, writes a new definite chief aim, and builds with mature determination, he must now think beyond mere advancement. He must think in terms of legacy. The most dangerous lie after 50 persuades men to shrink into maintenance. The most powerful truth invites them to crown their life's work with deliberate construction. The next 10 years must not be accidental. They must be designed. Divide the coming decade into defined seasons. The first 2 years may be for strengthening financial foundation and refining enterprise. The next 3 for expansion, influence, and multiplication of service. The latter years for consolidation, documentation of knowledge, and transmission to others. When time is segmented, it becomes strategic. When left vague, it dissolves. Create measurable annual objectives. At the end of each year, conduct written review. Examine income, contribution, alliances, growth of skill. Accurate thinking protects momentum. Illusion destroys it quietly. Consolidate finances with intention. Wealth accumulated without direction can disappear. Wealth organized around purpose compounds. After 50, prudence combined with ambition produces stability and strength. Consider also mentorship. The mastermind principle multiplies force. Guide younger minds. Share principles learned through error and endurance. When you transmit knowledge, you multiply influence. Influence extends beyond your physical years. Let this affirmation guide your decade. My next decade crowns my life. Speak it with calm authority. The world may expect you to slow. Let it observe instead your disciplined expansion. Others will begin to see you not as one retreating, but as one anchoring strength within family, enterprise, and community. Your example will challenge the belief that growth has an age limit. 10 focused years after 50 can outshine the decades before because you now understand cost. You value time more deeply. You waste fewer hours. You measure progress honestly. This clarity alone can save 20 or even 30 years that might otherwise fade into repetition. Do not allow the next decade to become a quiet echo of the last. Design it deliberately. Write the phases clearly. Review them annually. Adjust methods without lowering ambition. Build structures that endure. Document your lessons. Strengthen your alliances. Preserve your health and persist intelligently. The most dangerous lie after 50 is surrender disguised as wisdom. The most powerful truth is that deliberate aim can still reshape your destiny. Your remaining years are not leftovers. They are concentrated opportunity. Treat them accordingly. Build with intention. Multiply through contribution. And let the next 10 years stand as proof that it was never too late, only too long postponed. There is a moment in every man's life after 50 when he stands quietly between two interpretations of his future. One interpretation is comfortable. It asks little. It suggests that ambition has already had its hour and that maintenance is now the proper course. The other interpretation is demanding. It insists that experience has prepared him for a final, deliberate construction. The most dangerous lie after 50 pushes him toward the first interpretation. The truth invites him toward the second. The difference between those two paths is not age. It is agreement. If you agree that your greatest contributions are behind you, your mind will align itself with contraction. Your plans will shorten. Your risks will disappear. Your speech will soften. You will begin to explain rather than to build. Years will pass without visible collapse, yet without visible expansion. And at 60, then 70, you may feel a quiet awareness that something was left unused. But if you refuse agreement with limitation, an entirely different sequence begins. The mind, once commanded to expand, begins searching for means. Your experience rearranges itself into usable instruction. Old contacts become potential alliances. Former failures become maps of what not to repeat. Your attention sharpens. Time becomes visible. The hours of each day carry weight again. The world will not announce that you have chosen differently. It will not pause in admiration, but it will begin to respond. Others will sense renewed intention in you. They will notice that you speak of plans rather than of the past. They will observe that you carry yourself with calm determination rather than cautious nostalgia. They may not understand the change, but they will feel its effect. You will feel it first. The greatest shift occurs internally. When you reject the lie of expiration, you remove the invisible ceiling that had settled over your thinking. Ambition, once reduced, expands again, not recklessly, but deliberately. You no longer seek applause. You seek accomplishment. You no longer chase validation. You pursue construction. This distinction marks maturity of power. Youth often builds to prove itself. Maturity builds because it understands its capacity. There is a particular strength available only after 50. It is the strength of perspective. You have witnessed enthusiasm rise and fall. You have seen markets fluctuate. You have endured disappointment and discovered that you survived it. This knowledge is not romantic. It is practical. It reduces fear. It steadies decision. Fear of failure weakens when you have already endured it and remain standing. Fear of criticism weakens when you realize that critics fade more quickly than effort. Fear of poverty weakens when you understand the mechanics of earning and saving through experience. These fears may still whisper, but they no longer command. That alone can save 10 years. 10 years otherwise surrendered to hesitation. 10 years otherwise spent explaining why now is not ideal. 10 years otherwise dissolved in maintenance. When you write a new aim after 50 and read it daily, you are not pretending youth. You are organizing maturity. The subconscious mind does not measure your birth certificate. It measures repetition and belief. If you repeat, "My next decade crowns my life," with conviction and act in harmony with it, your habits will adjust accordingly. Habits shape destiny more reliably than inspiration. You now understand this with clarity that may have escaped you earlier. The world speaks often of retirement as though it were inevitable retreat. But retirement of income need not mean retirement of purpose. The mind that ceases to pursue definite construction begins to drift. Drift invites stagnation. Stagnation invites regret. Purpose, by contrast, generates vitality. You may not possess the restless energy of youth, but you possess something far more valuable: disciplined endurance. Endurance, applied consistently, outperforms excitement that fades. If you devote the next 10 years to one clear objective, organized carefully and pursued persistently, you may produce results that astonish even you. Wealth can be multiplied. Influence can be extended. Knowledge can be documented. Enterprises can be built or refined. Relationships can be strengthened. Legacy can be secured. And the cost of beginning is only decision. Consider how many men surrender the decade between 50 and 60 without formal intention. They do not fail dramatically. They simply reduce expectation. Their standards soften slightly each year. Their plans grow smaller. They protect what they have rather than expand what they can build. Protection without expansion becomes confinement. You were not given experience merely to preserve comfort. You were given it to amplify contribution. There is a calm authority available to you now that did not exist in earlier decades. You are less tempted by trends. You are less influenced by applause. You understand the value of sustained effort. This authority commands respect without demand. When others see you designing your next decade deliberately, they respond differently. Younger associates will seek your counsel. Family members will draw inspiration from your steadiness. Even critics will find less ground to challenge because your resolve is measured, not impulsive. Resolve grounded in experience is difficult to shake. The most dangerous lie after 50 persuades you that your season of construction has passed. Yet what if the years before were preparation? What if the disappointments you endured were not verdicts but lessons? What if the clarity you now possess was impossible earlier? Many never ask those questions. They accept the first interpretation presented to them. But you have seen that interpretation exposed. You now understand that the calendar does not command contraction. Belief does, and belief can be redirected. Let the next 10 years become deliberate. Divide them into phases. Measure annually. Review quarterly. Read your aim daily. Strengthen alliances. Guard health. Increase service. Adjust methods without lowering ambition. This is not youthful fantasy. It is mature design. You may discover that the sense of urgency you feel after 50 is not warning of decline, but invitation to concentration. Urgency clarifies priority. Priority strengthens focus. Focus multiplies output. Concentration compresses time. 5 focused years can produce what 15 scattered years cannot. 10 deliberate years can outshine the previous 30. Not because the world changed, because you did. There will be mornings when fatigue attempts to speak. There will be days when progress feels slow. In those moments, remember that steadiness defeats fluctuation. Review the evidence of your past resilience. Recall how many setbacks you survived already. Recognize that persistence is now your natural strength. Speak firmly to yourself. My experience strengthens me. My next decade is deliberate. Repetition of this conviction will fortify action. The greatest regret in later life is rarely failure. It is unused capacity. It is the quiet awareness that something remained unbuilt. You now possess the opportunity to prevent that regret. Reject the lie fully, not partially, not temporarily, fully. The moment you refuse to surrender your remaining years to maintenance, you reclaim authority. Authority restores dignity. Dignity fuels effort. Effort produces result, and result strengthens belief. Thus, a new cycle begins, one not of decline, but of deliberate expansion. You stand not at the end of possibility, but at the edge of refinement. Refinement guided by definite purpose becomes formidable. You no longer experiment blindly. You select wisely. You act steadily, you measure accurately, you persist intelligently. That combination is powerful at any age. It is especially powerful after 50. Let the decade ahead bear witness to your refusal. Let it stand as evidence that maturity does not equal retreat. Let it prove that knowledge paired with purpose becomes leverage. The lie said, "It's too late." Your life will answer, "It is decisive time." And when the years ahead unfold with structure and persistence, you will look back upon this moment as the hour you chose expansion over ease, construction over comfort, purpose over postponement. The calendar will continue its movement, but your direction within it will be chosen. Choose deliberately, build steadily, persist intelligently, and let the decade you refuse to surrender become the strongest chapter of all. There is no trumpet that sounds when a man rejects the lie after 50. No crowd gathers. No ceremony marks the moment. It happens privately in thought. A single internal refusal. I will not shrink. From that refusal, everything changes. You do not grow younger in years. You grow firmer in purpose. You do not chase applause. You construct quietly. You no longer measure your future by how much time has passed, but by how clearly you will use what remains. The lie said, "It's too late." Your decision says, "It is still mine." When you rise each morning with a written aim and act upon it steadily, You disprove the lie without argument. When you persist calmly while others retreat into maintenance, you redefine what maturity means. 10 years from now, you will not remember how old you were when you began again. You will remember that you did. And that is the difference between a life that narrows and a life that crowns itself with deliberate achievement. It was never too late. It was only waiting for your decision.